Welcome everybody to Monday Night Tonight on Monday night. All right, gosh, my guest tonight is just such a
Is
peach.
that the name of this podcast?
Yeah, you didn't know?
I didn't know the second part.
Yeah, I have a whole, like intro thing. Like PewDiePie does his stuff. I do my intro
Yeah,
with Jimmy Wyatt is here.
I didn't. You go through your whole thing.
And that was the whole thing actually.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, Jimmy Wyatt's here. And we're gonna chat. It's the audience doesn't know this, but I can see Jimmy, but he can't see me. So I have a little bit of power in this dynamic, a little bit of a Harvey Weinstein, you could say.
My God, Colin, Jesus, start
What?
the podcast over.
We'll cut that. We'll cut that. Uh, Jim, I wanted to mention that I did just wake up about, gosh, an hour ago.
Me too.
Okay, and I wanted to mention that because there's this voice actor that I like, who his name's Eric Vale. Most
Hmm.
people know him as Trunks from the Dragon Ball Z series, but he does a lot of like other bigger shows. And one character he does is Sanji in One Piece, who's like this kind of like smooth talking, cigarette smoking guy. And I always thought it was funny because he said that the way he prepares himself to go and voice some lines for Sanji is he wakes up about 30 minutes before the recording and doesn't talk to anyone before he starts reading.
That sleek morning voice.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm going for.
Yeah. Well, hey, you sound sexy.
Thank you, thank you. I am also eating a banana, so if you hear some gooey munches, that's what's going on.
Colin, the picture you're painting for me is erotic.
Oh, it shouldn't be. I am cutting it with a knife. So, well, because I have peanut butter, so I want to, a little bit of peanut butter, a little banana, eat that together. Anyway, Jim, you were just recently at an axe throwing competition.
Hmm.
I did do research on you. I am a good host, and I wanted to ask you some questions about that, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
What's it like going to a really big event? There was how many people were there?
The international championship. It was the top 256 in the world. But there was a round before that, which was even bigger. That was like the top. Um, I want to say like 7,000 or something like that qualified, and then
Wow.
they were there.
And were there spectators? Were there a lot of like people watching?
It was mostly like friends and family of the people who were
Hmm.
competing. It's not there. It's not necessarily at the level yet where it's like people were buying tickets to come to this thing for like randos, you know.
Okay, so there's maybe like 500 people there in total.
Oh yeah, yeah. So like they rented out like the Sportsplex and
Wow.
built an arena that they called the Axe Dome and all that. It was really cool. They had like a professional production company shoot the whole thing. It was really neat.
So what's it like being involved in something that is very much not a sport and having so many people be there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's strange. It's at the point where it's like on the verge. It's like we're right at the point where we're gonna find out if it's gonna be a long term thing or not. Um, it's like getting Axon is getting like play on ESPN and like my friends are on ESPN and stuff like that.
Mm.
But like you said, it's still very much not a sport. And it's not always fun to watch at the highest level because it's just everyone can do it almost perfectly almost every time.
Hmm.
So we're just kind of waiting. So it's not the most engaging thing to watch. So we're trying to figure out a way to, or I guess I'm not. The powers that be are trying to figure out a way to make it a little bit more entertaining and spice it up to see if we can get some longevity out of it.
That's great because I was very much joking about that. But I do like that you had a insider uh, topic there. But that actually makes me think that it sounds kind of like bowling in a way, where like some of the people at the top, when you watch like a bowling tournament, they're throwing strikes just about every bowl. But
Our sport as it is now, it's kind of um, any of us can beat any of us. We're all very good at this. It's just kind of waiting for someone to mess up first.
mhm,
And whoever messes up first loses, which is tough. It doesn't give it. It's like when you're throwing, like there's adrenaline and all that stuff, but just looking at it, you're like, oh, they threw another bullseye. They did it again.
mhm. That reminds me of people say a lot with like football, especially with the Super Bowl, where most of the game is played mentally, where you have to like
Yes.
go in and very much be present in the game, or else Tom Brady's not going to be walking home with another 6 rings, right?
Yeah, I mean that guy has so many um, rings and plaques. Colin, I don't know anything about football. You know that.
What? Yeah, me neither. Really. What does the trophy for an axe throwing tournament look like?
The trophy for the International Axe Throwing Championship is called the Wilson Cup, which is after the commissioner of the International Axe Throwing Federation. He was like the guy who started it all, so he named the trophy after himself, which is
That's
funny.
pretty dope. Yeah, that's great.
But typically a trophy is named after its original winner. So he kind of went askew on that one.
Oh, I didn't know that. That usually,
Yeah,
well, the Heisman was that. I forgot. You don't know football. I don't know football.
I,
So
I
somebody else
assume
Google it.
I assume that the first person to win that trophy, his last name was Heisman.
So what was it called before he won it?
A trophy,
Oh, sick.
general general trophy for being good.
It's like a participation trophy.
Some football head is gonna destroy me on social media for that horrible assumption.
So I also had a question. This is more of an insider goss,
Yeah, hit me with the goss, baby.
but I noticed now people who know you, so that'll probably be most of the listening audience for this because I don't get many outside viewers or listeners. But I think most people know you as Jimmy Bagpipes
Right.
at the Urban Axes and local throwing leagues. But I saw on your Instagram you went under a pseudonym Jimmy War Pigs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's that about?
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So actors have nicknames. The way I got Jimmy Bagpipes was a friend of mine, or a friend of ours, Molly O'Day.
Yes.
Um, she had an Uber driver, and her Uber driver's name was Jimmy Bagpipes. And the thing about Uber is that you can't have a fake name on it, I don't think, because like kidnapping reasons, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
So she like screenshotted it and sent it to her group, and I just without saying anything, I changed my name in the group chat, changed the picture to his picture, um, this guy's identity basically, with the idea or the hope that one day he's going to go into Urban Axes and see my name on the championship wall, which is his name, and he's going to be like, "Did I fucking win a league and have no idea?" Um,
Oh,
so that's so that's how I got Jimmy. The reason I got Jimmy War Pigs is do you remember? Oh man, you remember a few weeks ago when the United States of America bombed Iran?
yeah.
Yeah.
No
So
good.
yeah, I'm Soleimani, am I right? When so that happened, and we were at league, and we were talking about it, and we kind of realized. I made a joke like, "Oh, we're all getting drafted," and then everyone said, I'm too old to be drafted. And everyone's like, I'm 28, 29, 30. And then we kind of realized that I'm the only person who was of age drafted, if the draft was still around, which I know it's not. But the joke just became that I was getting drafted and that I'm a warmonger and I profit off war. I just love war. So we changed it to Jimmy Warpigs, and it'll stick around for a little bit, but it's not who I am at heart. So at heart, I'm that Uber driver, not a war criminal.
Sorry, I got
Contrary
banana.
to what people might believe, I know I give off the appearance of a war criminal, but trust me, I'm not.
And for those of you who've never seen Jimmy in his amazing performances or at local bodegas, he does
Yeah, I
not
have.
look like a war pig.
What?
Oh, um, shit, that made me think of something else that I was gonna ask you.
Take your time.
God, so Iraq.
Come on, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can ask me a question.
Have you ever been XR?
I have
Were you
uh,
any good?
twice. I went for a birthday party at Urban Axis in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and and that was fine. I didn't do so great that time, but I had a lot of fun. And then I went a second time, probably a year later, and it was just for fun with some friends, and I crushed it. I don't know what
Hell yeah.
happened, but I was doing really good until we went through like 3 or 4 games, and then we were starting to run out of time. So the guy was like, "All right, we're just gonna do King of the Hill." Um, and I knocked out all of my friends, and then my roommate comes up, and he's the last person I have to beat, and my arms are so tired because I was just constantly throwing bullseyes over and over and over, and then he came up and I missed a shot and got like 2 points, and then he throws a bullseye perfect, which is the first time he threw a bullseye all night because
You
he was
hate to
just
see it.
absolutely sucking, and then
But
he
see,
knocked me out.
so that's what I'm saying. Like at the high level, like anyone can beat anyone. It's just who's going to make that singular mistake first, right?
Yeah, I
But
so oh, that makes me think of something. So there's, from what I understand, there's, I guess, several ways to throw an axe, but usually when you go like axe throwing casually, they'll teach you one, maybe two ways. Like they might show you one-handed, but what do you usually see in like competitive axe throwing in terms of the different throwing styles?
I mean, it's all preference. I think I would say most people at the top are throwing one-handed. You have more after practicing with it. You have more control and more accuracy and stuff like that. Um, at the lower level, like when people first learn how to throw, most places, I don't want to say most places because I don't know that. A lot of places will teach two-handed off the bat, just because a simpler, it's a simpler motion to get down if you have no, uh, what's the word? If you have no like idea of the basics, it's a little bit easier just because it keeps you more balanced and centered. Uh,
Mhm.
because throwing one-handed, you can accidentally come in at an angle and it can't cut through the wood because of the way the grain is. So it's a little, but at the high level, most of us are throwing our hatchets one-handed, and then if it ties, we go to a bigger axe, which is like 25 inches long, um, and most of us throw that two-handed, but there are definitely people who throw one-handed, throw it really well.
Wow. I didn't know that they did that two-handed or long axe thing. That sounds sick.
Well, they're significantly heavier,
Yeah.
not significantly, they're a pound heavier, but at that weight, it makes it a lot tougher to control one-handed, and especially if you're in a tournament where you're throwing it all day, your arm gets tired and stuff like that, and then like it changes your muscle memory a little bit because then you come back to your or your hatchet, your little axe,
Hmm.
and then you're throwing that handed with the muscle of your one-handed big axe, and that's a little strange. It's all practice and feeling it out and stuff like that.
Hmm. Well, it's hey, you're basically like a Viking, so that's pretty cool.
You know, I want to stop you right there, Colin.
Oh, okay.
Well, so here's the thing. Axe throwing, when you first hear it, it has this very like masculine type uh connotation to it. Like you
Hmm.
said, like really bringing up Vikings, but it's really not. There's nothing intrinsic about the rule set or the sport that makes it masculine or Viking or anything like that. Like there are some women in the sport who are absolutely crushing it, um, and they're very good. Like I said, it's only the heaviest thing you'll throw is 2.5 pounds. That's not by any means like physically limiting, uh, male or female wise. Like it's not, uh, you know what I mean? It's not like it's not like we're playing football where like people are gigantic
Yeah,
compared to people. Well, it's not, like just about anybody who um,
has
wants to
an arm.
2.5 pound thing can throw a 2.5 pound thing.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I want to stop you right there because there were female Vikings and they would fight too, dude. Ever heard of a war maiden?
Um, no, dude, tell me every detail you know about a war maiden.
Sorry, Jim, we're out of time for this segment, but I think my axe throwing name would be Colin War Maiden because I would
Yeah,
tell everybody. Actually, there were female Vikings and they were called War Maidens, and I'd say
yeah,
that before every single throw.
yeah. We get it, Colin. Yeah, you keep saying that.
Excuse me. Um, that's great. I do want to move on because I have a question that I ask. I think everybody who's come on that I know that is like into comedy, like
Hmm.
yourself. I might have forgot to ask Olivia, but that's because we had such an engaging conversation about other things. But Jim, I'm curious who your comedy inspirations are.
Someone asked me this the other day, and I spent 6 hours thinking about it.
Change it. So,
That's
so
okay.
I hope you chose properly. Uh, I mean, I guess the reason I ask people this is because I feel like if you go to like the big one that I noticed it on was Dave Chappelle. If you go to his Wikipedia page, you'll see like on his like little like bio thing on the right side, like under his picture,
Right.
it lists who his influences are and like inspirations. And I always thought, oh, that's weird that somebody can just name that off the top of like they could be like, oh yeah, Richard Pryor, he's a big one, or Jerry Seinfeld. But like anytime I thought about it, I'm like, I don't know, man. I just like entertaining people. It's not like I do it because I saw somebody else do it. It's just I just
Right.
do it. So it's
Well,
good to know that other people also struggle with that same question.
yeah. I think all the uber famous stand-ups, I think they all pull from the same few people when it comes to their inspirations. Like Pryor was um, the goat. He was like the first gigantic comedian. Same thing with
Hmm.
like Eddie Murphy or George Carlin. Like all the old heads that we all really look up to now. It was really obvious who he they were going to look up to.
Yeah. Well, I guess yeah, because that was like when stand up and comedy were really kind of just
Yeah.
getting
Like
big.
I bet if you ask Pete Davidson, who's younger, I think he's 24 or something like that, he might say Richard Pryor, but my guess is that he's not going to. My guess is that he'll say someone that we look up to currently.
Hmm. Well, he's also
I
shit.
didn't like his name. I'll say it.
I didn't watch it. Excuse me.
You don't have to.
I um I saw him uh when he was touring with John Mulaney,
Also saw the tour.
and he wasn't bad, but I it felt like he felt unnatural doing stand up, which
Yeah,
was weird because I like looked into him and he started doing stand up when he was 16.
yeah, he started really young. Do
So
you know
that's
why?
why's that?
I think I remember in an interview he said that he like got bullied a bunch at school and like felt super uncomfortable around his peers, so he would go and hang out at the comedy clubs because that's where he could like get his thoughts out more appropriately.
Oh, that's really cool. So that oh, okay, that's what I couldn't think of earlier. I feel like in your case, you have a very ideal, I guess I shouldn't say ideal, but you have like the kind of fantasized ideal situation for like starting in comedy or like finding success in comedy because I feel like so often people attribute successful comedians with like tragic backstories or tragic pasts, which is interesting because I think I had heard John Mulaney talked about this on Conan O'Brien's podcast, where he was like, "Yeah, my childhood wasn't really bad at all." And like, yeah, Conan even said that too. He's like, "I don't really have anything like tragic in my past." So I wonder where. I guess it's just because you see so many comedians like Robin Williams who are depressed and maybe hide it or don't hide it so well, but it just it's interesting that that is a stereotype for comedy to have like you have to have this like tragic backstory.
Well, I think there's a level of like the the stories that you could tell and the perspectives that you can give if you went through something tragic or traumatic. I
Hmm.
think the thing that people like Pete Davidson's dad died in 9/11.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so that his dad's a firefighter, was a firefighter. So he has that same thing. I think there's a level of like, um, no one wants to. The reason you don't see any super famous 16-year-old comedians is because 16-year-old comedians don't have life perspective. They don't have
Hmm.
things to talk about. They don't have opinions that are forged through life. Um, all they have is high school. Um, or whatever it is. Or speaking very broadly,
Hmm.
the um, the reason comedians get famous and stuff like that is because they have stories to tell. They lived a life. Um, so if that life starts at something traumatic when you're 8, perhaps that's the catalyst that's going to send you into having unique perspective, being able to tell stories a certain way.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's a very good take on it. Um,
Thanks. Really smart.
yeah. Well, you're somebody who, excuse me, who I have seen is very, I guess, proactive um, in your pursuit and advancement in comedy, and you seem to always be looking for like new avenues to kind of learn from, or at least you find ways that you can kind of learn and better understand, I guess, your craft in a way, which I admire very much. It's very um, I don't want to say admirable because I don't want you to get a big head, but
Too late, Colin. You asked me to be on your podcast.
I did, yeah. No, I'm just curious if you're, I guess, stuck in like a creative rut or something. Where do you typically kind of turn to get out of it?
I turned to life. Ben Schwartz did a really amazing interview with, oh, fuck. Ben Schwartz did a really amazing interview with someone, and he said that when he's in a creative rut and he doesn't like he's improvising about the same few things, he's improvising off of improv scenes that he thinks. The reason is because he hasn't experienced life enough. He needs to go to the zoo or do something different. Because again, we're all pulling from the stories that we've lived, right?
Hmm.
So you kind of need to reset and like refresh the stories that you have. You need to take some time to go experience something to give you that new perspective, or to go meet an interesting person, and then you can pull pieces of their personality or their um, mannerisms. That way you can um, use that in your own craft.
Interesting. I guess so. What I'm really taking away here is I guess a lot of people might think, and me included, that like comedy and stand up is just like you think of something funny and you say it. But I
Right.
know a lot in when you're learning to do improv, a lot of it is be truthful to the character that you're playing, be truthful to the scene and what's going on, and like
Right.
don't force it. Don't try to be funny. Like try and just be as real as possible. Because I guess, and I don't know how to explain it, but people find reality to be really funny.
Yeah. Well, the reason we think anything is funny is because there's a level of sorry, really quick. It was Ben Schwartz on the Kevin Pollak chat show.
Okay.
It's an hour and a half long, and it's one of the best interviews I've ever seen. So yeah, the reason we think things are funny is there's a level of us that goes, "Oh, I get that." The reason something is funny is because it subverts expectations in a way. When a comedian says a setup to a joke, you hear the setup and go, "I bet I know what he's going to say next," and then you hear the punchline. It goes, "Oh, it wasn't what I thought he was going to say." That's like the surprise is what makes it funny.
Hmm.
So when we are listening to a stand-up show or we're watching an improv show, the things we find are funny is when you can relate to something in a sense, and then it surprises you in a sense. There's again a really good TED talk on why things are funny, um, and the explanation the guy gives is called it's a benign deviation or something like that, or I don't know, I'm blanking on it. But basically, the sense is it has to trick you, or it has to be wrong in a way that's harmless.
Hmm.
So, like the reason racist jokes aren't funny is because it's wrong, but it's also wrong in a way that like hurts someone's feelings.
Hmm.
So you need to get rid of the part that hurts someone's feelings, and it doesn't. You know what I mean? So that way, it's a little bit off, and that's why it's funny.
Interesting. I like that benign. Uh,
That's good.
yeah. Um, Jesus H. I have a lot of
I
coughing.
trust. I trust that you're going to edit this to make me not sound like an idiot.
I'm gonna try my best. I
Thank you.
don't have any plans today until like 5, so I got free time to cut this down. um, that kind of leads into I guess really my last talking point. So hopefully we can stretch this out. But so we're both college graduates, got that
Oh yeah.
degree.
We're going into the good stuff now.
Yeah, and we both have student loan bills. Pardon?
But boy, do we.
Oh, yeah. Uh, which means that we have to have real jobs.
Yep.
And something that I've personally struggled with is staying, I guess, creative and creatively motivated when I have to go to an office uh, just about every day. At least, well, now it's only 3 days a week, but I still have to work 5 days a week. Um, so I guess the thing that I'm constantly looking for is ways to keep my energy up so that I can be creative. But even recently, I've kind of fallen into this like patch where I just don't have any like I guess creative motivation. Maybe it's very strange. I feel like, pardon?
The juice isn't there.
Yeah, yeah. It's I keep describing it as being creatively constipated, where like
Sure.
I have ideas, I just don't have the juice to kind of like get the gears flowing. So I wonder if you've experienced that in your very professional business life.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's life's long, man. I mean,
Shit, yeah,
you
dude.
so what? I on tomorrow I'm gonna have to wake up at 7:30 to be at work at 9. I'm gonna work from 9 to 5. I'm gonna get home at 5:30. I have to eat dinner, do laundry, um, and like have a minute to myself. And then by that time, it's already 8:30 or whatever. So
Mhm.
then, and I'm supposed to write a fucking monologue. Like it's exhausting. Um, but I don't remember where this question started. But do I have an answer as to how to get through that? Not really. No.
I see. Because I try to look at I guess other successful people, other comedians, and see where their trajectory started.
Yeah.
And it's not helpful, but I compare it to where I'm at, and I say, oh, okay, I could try that, and maybe that might put me off on a path to achieve my own goals. But then, I mean, when you think about it, we're two different people in two different situations. So, I mean, going off of that's not really gonna help me at all. I feel like I'm kind of in like a uh, toxic loop in that way. But also, I find it very interesting looking up um, successful people's backgrounds.
Right.
So
Well, I think. Oh, sorry.
no, that you go ahead.
I think something that's always tough with anything is when something that you've always considered a hobby all of a sudden turns into a responsibility.
Hmm.
Like there was a point, like we did improv together in college, and at that point it was just we were doing improv in college for um, people in our student center, right? Once it changed to like, oh, now I'm performing in the city, and I'm on a theater's house team. I perform every Wednesday and every Saturday. I perform for strangers, and I'm making a theater money and stuff like that. It changed from hobby to potential career, um, that I would have to work very hard for, and absolutely like wasn't in the pipe even.
Mm.
But that's where your brain goes. You're like, oh, can I make a thing out of this? And then it changes the importance of it to you, to the point where you now have to think like, all right, well, how do I monetize this, or how do I make this most worth my time and whatnot? Once it changes from hobby to career path, or hobby to responsibility, or something like that, it puts a lot more weight on it, and it makes it a lot more exhausting. You're not enjoying it the same way, because you're now thinking, all right, well, what do I have to do to make this work, instead of what do I want to do to enjoy this? I
Yeah.
feel like I nailed that.
You did really good. That was
That was
very
really good.
that was very
That
thoughtful.
felt really, yeah, that felt really tough.
Yeah, we don't need another take, guys. We're good. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, send it to post. Uh, that's excuse me. Um, what is your this? I promise this fits into the context. What is your hometown like?
My hometown.
Yeah, specifically the
Uh,
people in your hometown.
sure. I live in South Jersey. Um, it's strange. If you go one town to the left, it's very wealthy. And um, a lot of rich kids who didn't have to worry about paying for college and whatnot. And then if you go one town to the right, there's Confederate flags everywhere, and um, people driving trucks with truck nuts on them and stuff. Uh, so I don't know how to answer your question, Colin. My hometown was strange.
Okay. The reason I ask is because in my hometown and in I guess Delaware County as a large, and some people might take offense to this, but I'm gonna say it because this is something that I hold very true. Uh, there's kind of this like vacuum that keeps you held in place when you live in Delaware County. It's mostly due to the parishes, because if you're from a parish, then you're basically part of that community for the rest of your life, and you'll never leave it. Or at least you'll be kind of stuck in the Delaware County area, maybe a different parish. But it kind of feels like there's this vacuum of ambition or anything like that, because I feel like a lot of the kids I went to high school with, and this isn't to be mean or anything to anybody, but I feel like their ambition and their goals is to just get a job that pays good, maybe get married when you're like 30, and just have a house, and that's their whole life goal.
Right.
And it's kind of it's almost like vampiric in a way where like it spreads from one person to the next, and I can kind of like feel that in myself where like you spend enough time around these people from this area, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I could go like pursue these creative things and go and try and do something greater than myself, or I could go to Barnaby's on a Friday night and grab a beer with some friends and talk about how great it was in high school for the
Right.
100th time. So,
Well, I mean, I think it's really similar with like political ideologies, right? Like how many people never leave their hometown and just continue to grow up thinking what their parents think and all that stuff.
mhm,
Like
yeah.
I would say, like I undoubtedly like my hometown votes read every election by like a heavy margin.
Mhm,
Uh, and I assume that if I could have voted when I was 16, that's probably where I would have leaned to. But then getting to go to away to college, and even though I went to a private Catholic university, it was still a pretty liberal private Catholic university, at least in the groups that I ran.
mhm.
Um, so I think it's really like, who knows how I would vote and feel right now if not for purposely surrounding myself with new people and new perspectives, right?
Mhm. So maybe that's that's kind of the key to, I mean, staying out of the vacuum. It's just like keep keep meeting new people, keep finding people who have different, I guess, worldviews, different life experiences to
Oh yeah,
try
absolutely.
and yeah.
How so? Like, all right, I don't want to get super political, but like, Trump thinks that, or said that like Mexicans are rapists, the whole all that bullshit. Do you think he thinks that because he's friends with a ton of Mexicans?
Absolutely not. No, of course not.
Yeah. So like it's the same. It's the more people you know, and the more perspectives you have, and the more individuals that you can converse with, the more you know about the world, right?
Hmm. Though I feel like there's probably a cutoff age where that stops mattering and like your thoughts and ideas are locked in, because my grandmom knows a few Mexican people who are now part of our family due to my cousin marrying into that family, and I'm pretty sure she still thinks Mexicans are rapists.
I mean, maybe, but there's also this sense of like deniability, like, oh well, they're the good ones.
Yeah, yeah.
You, like, yeah, I mean, what there's a saying, I don't know the exact phrasing, but it's like you're liberal in your 20s and you're conservative in your 30s or something like that,
Hmm.
and like it's implying like once money becomes more important, then you're gonna whatever, whatever, whatever. But I would like to hope that no matter the financial situation I'm in, whether I'm making a lot or a little bit of money, that the civil rights of people would always be more important.
So let me ask you something. Um, would you
Yeah, Colin, shoot.
say Okay, would you say money is not important to you?
Money, I don't need to be rich. I need to be able. I need to. I want to be even. That's all I need. I would be absolutely content working a part-time job, a little apartment, um, if I could. But
Mhm.
I went, like I mentioned earlier, went to a private Catholic university, and I'm in an insane amount of debt. So I can't have a part-time job and work live in a little apartment. I have to have a full-time job that still doesn't really pay my bills and live with my mom. Um, so is money important to me? No. Do I need it to get like it's important to society. So I guess.
That's and I'm glad you explained yourself too, because I had told my dad before that money is not important to me, and I phrased it just that way. And then when I moved out of my dad's house and started living on my own, and then bills started piling up, and I didn't get the job promotion that I thought I was going to get, and money started to become very tight, and I asked for some help. He threw it back in my face and said, "I thought money wasn't important to you."
Right.
But I feel like just the way you said it, it's not important in the sense that I'm not lusting after it. Like I don't need as much money as possible. It's I need as much money as I need to get by.
Yeah, exactly. If I could, like, the the best one of the best times of my life was immediately after college, where my loans
Yes.
were I didn't have to start paying my loans for 6 months or whatever. I had a part-time job doing something I really enjoyed doing, teaching people how to throw axes. I got to entertain. I was doing comedy. Like I got to do all these like really fun things. I had a girlfriend. Like that was the best time because I was living. I didn't the overarching debt that I was about to have wasn't stressing me out. I was living perfectly fine on a part-time job, which is all I need is just to get by. I don't like. I was just talking to my girlfriend Olivia about this. Like it's like there are musicians out there who travel 200 days a year for the most part, live in their car, playing gig to gig. They get $75 at this gig, and that's going to get them gas money and food to get to the next gig. And they're perfectly content, right?
Hmm.
Like, you don't need a mansion in the hills. You don't need the nicest car. You just need to get to the thing that, like, you need a car that's going to get you to your hobby. You need a place that you can sleep so freezing, so that you don't go see, like you don't you don't need it. Yeah, that I don't know. I don't need to make it more complicated than that. You
Yeah,
don't need
no,
it,
I definitely get that.
or I don't need it at least.
Listen, I just hope come November we get Bernie, or I think Elizabeth Warren said it too, and they get rid of our student loans, and I don't gotta pay it
Uh,
anymore.
well, Colin, are your loans public or private?
Oh, mine are private.
Yeah, I don't know how helpful either of them are going to be.
Oh no, Jim, I already voted.
All right, well, I mean, you should still vote for one of them too, anyway. Probably Bernie, but whatever. I don't want to get too political.
But
But
they said they'd take away my student loans.
yeah, they meant government-funded loans.
Oh man.
Oh man, I'm gonna get some Bernie bro in my fucking DMs.
Listen, don't harass people for their political views, even if they're offensive or morally reprehensible. Don't harass
Um,
people. Never harass people.
Not yeah, okay. I'll agree with don't harass. I do think when people are more morally reprehensible, you can tell them that.
Yeah, yeah. Have a conversation. Don't like go into their DMs and send them death threats.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, we're at about time. Was
Are
there
we?
anything? Pardon?
This went so quick.
Yeah, well, it usually does. It's only about 45 minutes. But
Who are your conversations, Colin?
um, I've said a few of the same people before because I usually answer when I ask people. Um, a big one for me is Stephen Colbert.
Sure, that's great.
I like John Mulaney a lot. I like Ben Schwartz a lot because
Hmm.
I just remembered that he used to do College Humor videos with them,
Yeah,
and that they're all very
seriously,
funny.
so good.
Um, damn, there's somebody I was thinking about the other day. Oh, another guy. I've always really liked Mike Birbiglia,
I love Reliving.
but Jim Gaffigan is another guy who I forgot about and then remembered because he was on Conan's podcast, and he had me about to like spit out my water at work, laughing so hard.
That's fun.
And he's another guy like Mike Birbiglia who doesn't need to rely on like really raunchy stuff or like cursing to make something funny. He just kind of like says shit and it's so wild. I don't know. I really like those two guys. So right now I'm gonna say Mike Birbiglia and Jim Gaffigan are big inspirations.
Yeah, Berbiglia is a great show. I think I subconsciously model the way I tell stories sometimes off of Mike Berbiglia.
Yeah, I
Just the
guess.
way
Yeah,
he speaks is so um, fluid, or I don't know. It's really nice.
yeah. He definitely has a very distinctive kind of speech pattern when he's telling his stories, which makes it
Yeah,
very funny.
yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Jim. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Any plugs?
Um, no, I mean follow me on social media, I guess, at Mr. Jimmy Wyatt. Um, and then yeah, that's it. Go support local comedy. Go see an improv show in whatever city you live in. Um, go axe throwing. Get a group of friends. Go axe throwing. It's great. That's it.
And if you want to see a really stupendous improv show this Wednesday night at 7:30,
You ride my plug into your own plug.
you were setting it up.
I know.
My brand new team. I'm on a new team called Real Creeps. Real happy with the name. I think it's pretty great. It really embodies us. We got a show Wednesday night. It's our debut show, 7:30 at the Philly Improv Theater. It's pretty exciting. And if you stick around until 10 o'clock, I'm running the jams in March
Wait,
alongside.
I thought you were 9.
Pardon?
I thought your show was at 9.
No, we're at 7:30, and then at 9 is episodic,
Got it.
and then immediately after that they're doing the jam.
Got it.
So go see episodic too. Olivia Cram is in that,
Yep.
right? She friend of the show. We one of our best episodes, I'd say, and friend of Jimmy Wyatt, I'd say.
Yeah, very good friend.
Yeah. I guess that's it. I don't know. Keep it sleazy, everybody.
Oh, how you're ending this?
I haven't figured out how to end it. I have the intro down pretty good, but the ending I don't know.
What episode?
Oh, this is 15. There's one more left.
There's one. You're only doing 16.
Yeah, I'm doing 8 episode seasons,
Oh, got it.
and this is
Wow, I
season 2.
think that's bullshit.
So, well, I still have to think. Who should I get next time? Who do you want me to get on?
You want me to try to find it here?
If you want. Uh, Maybe not. It's the last episode of the season.
Okay.
I'll find. I might get Paul Richards. He's asked to be on before.
Love.
Great guy. Great guy. Um, yeah, I guess I figured out how to end it. Good night, everybody.
Okay.
It's perfect.